you have Hashimoto's, don't make the same mistake.
Seems to be straight. I'm scheduled to start till 7:30 proper, so it could be. Hey, don't eat the floor. Do you want me to see if I can pull that one? I put your key in front of the TV. Thank you. Appreciate that. Pretty weak, but. Okay. Send me the link if you will. Okay. Forward it from Susan. Email. This is going live. I noticed what you think it is the three. The fact that 7:30 there's 3 messages. 3 people. Okay. Well, this is yeah. I thought everything was gonna work perfectly because it may all be fun. Oh, it is 7:30. Yeah. Nothing here yet, Susan, Becca. Okay. You're connected to the internet. Yeah. Is this the test one, not the real one?
It could be, but Tom said he's getting something.
Okay.
It might be because go to my Facebook page.
Okay. I'm there.
See if
There's
that-
the link. Live stream offline, same message. Open app. No.
I have to sign in. That could be a problem with those. I don't remember my password.
Oh, for YouTube.
This is signed in though, so. See for a second. Ask Tom to share the link in chat. So. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. We're having some folks who are having some issues, but we're going to go ahead and get going. So thank you for your patience.
Is it working? Is it working? Okay. I didn't have it. Didn't come over. I'm still getting it. It's still what it is.
Okay. later. I'll send it to Susan. So just let her know. I'm sending her
Okay.
through Messenger.
Does it need to go out to everybody in chat?
My cousins are already on. So people were confirming on here they're on. So
Okay. Okay. I'll just sit in the chair. You want to sit in my chair?
yeah. Hey everybody. Thanks for your patience. This is the first live streaming I've done, so welcome. I'm Beth Hicks. I'm Belinda Hicks's younger sister, Belinda Hicks-Baumgartner. So we're here to celebrate her life, and thank you for being here today. Sorry for my cat. So it's certainly been a journey, and we definitely miss her. I want to give a shout out to my niece Susan, her daughter, Craig, Belinda's husband. I know you guys have been struggling, so glad to be here with you. Some cousins and a best friend on here. So anyway, after this, we're gonna do a little talking. Actually, Mary Beth is gonna do some talking. I'll introduce her in a minute. And just some reminiscences by myself and Susan. And then there's going to be a PowerPoint. It's a video, and Susan is going to put the link into the comments on Facebook, and it's a tribute to Belinda. It's pictures that we've compiled and music from my CD, my solo CD. And so right now we're listening actually to my friend Tom Lowther, his CD, Intersections in Life. So I want to say thank you, Tom, for donating this to the cause. It's quite lovely, and I'm sure she would have loved it. She was a piano player as well as guitar player, and so thank you for that. And if you're interested in the CD, let me know. I can talk to you about it. And then this is my solo CD, actually made for my parents. So sad to have it being played here, but there it is. So I really didn't want to officiate this myself, and so I asked my dear friend Mary Beth Ingram. I know Mary Beth because I worked with her husband when I worked for hospice, so I got to know them very well. And usually doing hospice, it can be pretty intense. It can be wonderful as well, but visiting with them was a ray of sunshine. I just was so blessed to know them. And to see people go through that journey and to do it with such dignity and love and truth and with their hearts open, I just knew that she had to be in my life going forward. So once an appropriate amount of time went by, we decided we had to be friends again. So I'm so grateful for her to be here today to talk to you about Belinda, to read you some poems, and just be here in her presence to hold us together is wonderful. So I'm going to stop talking. Susan will post the video in the comments, and I'll turn it over to Mary Beth. Oh, one other thing, during the video, if you'd like to get a candle, there's a place in the video where you can light a candle. We're all going to light a candle together for Belinda in remembrance. So if you want to get a candle at some point, there's a place in the video that tells you to do that. But I just thought it would be a nice remembrance. And since we all can't be together, that's a way for us to be together and to shine a light for her. So I'm going to step out of the picture and turn things over to the lovely Mary Beth. And thank you all so much for being here.
I'm more than honored to step into this role. Welcome, everyone. I add my gratitude for your presence here, for coming to the remembrance of Belinda. While this connection appears on screen through the digital world, It is Belinda that really makes the connection because you were each a part of her life or a part of those dear to her, like her sister and her friend. Welcome to this time together. It is good and right to be here, to honor a life lived and loved. I'd like to offer us a poem of blessing written by Kate Bowler and Jessica Ritchie, with modifications to customize for the remembrance of Belinda. It's called A Blessing for the Day of Mourning. Today you are drawn into mourning. The complexity of love and loss warms your hearts and yet chills your bones. Just as the light of the sun illuminates the lines of a spider's web, invisible connections are revealed. You are wrapped up in love. Blessed are you who acknowledge the way your minds linger on the details. You know exactly how her mouth looked when she laughed, or precisely what it meant when she used that tone. Blessed are you when you have reasonable plans to make sense of a world without her. But how could you? It would be easier to pour the ocean into a kitchen sink. This love is bottomless. And blessed are you when you carry this grief with no dignity, just some Kleenex and a look that says, you don't know who died today. How could you know? Unless you felt the way time today slowed until it meant nothing at all, until I found her in my memories. Oh, eternal presence, you alone know the whole of it. Her sufferings, her joys, her hopes, her winding paths, every moment of her being. Restore our souls, even as you receive hers. Welcome her in with the kind of embrace we long to give. Blessed is the time she was given, and the time we now have, whether in life or in death. Love is the greatest, the most stubborn truth. I get the pleasure now of reading remembrances written by Beth, sister, and Susan, daughter. These are fun and heartfelt. Legs pumping, lungs heaving, feet slipping on freshly dewed grass. We would race. We would race upside the house, down the driveway, around the house. You would always win, being almost a decade older and a foot taller. You were always ahead, just like this time. I was 7. You were 15, going on 16. You slipped in the wet grass and went down with a tumble. I was close enough behind to not be able to stop, and I tumbled on top of you, though I suspect you tripped me. But for a moment, you wrapped your long, thin arms around me and squeezed, and my heart did a little squeeze too. Then you jumped up and talked down to me, still on the ground. I'm going to my room, shutting the door. I want privacy. Then you bent over, slugged me in the arm, not so tenderly, and ran away, all before I could get up on my young, wet feet to stand. And that was pretty much our relationship. Complex, often distant, years separating us, and then oceans and miles. But you will always be and always were my sissy. My term of endearment I used growing up. When you were 13 and getting ready to go into 8th grade, I was 4. The thought of my big sissy going away every day for hours without me was almost unbearable. After all, who was going to help me teach my bears and dolls how to read or grade their papers or play kin while I played Barbie? I decided I was going to school too. So the Sunday night before school started, I set my tiny little purse on the hallway doorknob and put a few pennies in it just in case I needed some money. I was ready to go to school with my sissy, daggone it, and no one was stopping me. This trip down memory lane is going to be full of, and then there was this time, and then we all have those stories. And I can't think of a more perfect time to share those times with you. Likely, you too will nod and say, yep, that sounds like Belinda. And hopefully, you'll have your own fond memories of your stories and antics together. We would sing on the car in road trips. My sister played a huge role in my musical abilities, and she started grooming me early. We would do rounds or 100 bottles of beer on the wall until Daddy or Mother or both would bellow, "Shut the hell up, for Christ's sake." Sometimes we'd sing a hymn, "Do Lord, oh do Lord," or even yodel, which was a family favorite. When we visited my father's mother, whom we called Mom, we'd play her old player piano that was tucked away in a dark corner of her very Victorian parlor, complete with swayback velvet couch and curtains. It was always out of tune and plunky sounding, but we learned so many tunes by ear and giggled while we did. Then there were the winters we would go stand in our own town of Milton, waiting for Christmas parade to begin, with the Milton High School marching band being the highlight. And there was my tall, thin sissy, wearing that very regal uniform with that very tall, white, fluffy hat, playing trumpet. My heart would burst with pride every time. And while I didn't play trumpet in marching band, I did play piccolo and followed the family tradition. Inez, our mom, played trumpet in high school, as well as cello. You'll hear some cello and trumpet during the video portion, an homage both to Mother and Belinda. There were the vacations in the hills and the mountains of West Virginia or Tennessee, where we would hike and swim and bike and play ball and tennis. Our dad would sing Loch Lomond on the trails, "You take the low road and I'll take the high road," as his long legs would carry him over the paths that were above us, and he'd run circles around us. During the video, you'll hear "Red is the Rose," which is the Irish version of that song. We'd have cookouts and roast wieners and marshmallows over the fire. Sunday morning, we'd walk to the little outdoor chapel in the woods for a quiet church service, then head to the lake for a swim. Those were wonderful, joyous times. There was the time my mother tried to teach Belinda how to drive. We were in the old blue Ford station wagon, and I was perched in the back seat, right smack dab in the middle, until I hit the back of the front seat 3 times, at which point I sat back and figured out that silly seatbelt thing. Mother didn't give her any more lessons. Daddy took that over, and it was best for the entire family's mental health. Once on a snowy winter day when Belinda and I were both off from school, our mom decided to teach us to dance. We pulled out the record player. Remember, the old heavy ones with the scratchy material on the outside and the big gold latch. We had lots of old records, from LPs to 78s. She put on a staticky old waltz record and proceeded to teach us to dance. We didn't learn how to waltz that day because We couldn't stop being silly and giggling. But while we were laughing, the snow stopped and the sun came out. We finished our living room dance session with some of our favorite patriotic marches before Mother prepared us a most delicious lunch. It's the small things we remember in the end. Things aren't always perfect or even good, but when they are, cherish them. During the video, you'll hear a waltz composed in honor of that day. Belinda was a clothes horse and also loved to have her picture taken, very much like our grandmother, Garnet Hicks-Baumgartner, who was always ready with a pose and a smile for the camera. Belinda was also very well put together. I teased her endlessly that her socks had to match her top. I was lucky, I am lucky, if my socks matched each other. I studied flute and music at Marshall University, and one of my fondest memories of my sister was coming to one of my wind symphony concerts. For all who knew Belinda, you know she could be stunning. At almost 5'11" with long blonde hair, she turned heads. I was around 20 at the time, so she was maybe 28 or 29. She showed up in full makeup, a bright red jumpsuit with a waistcoat and jacket, and 4-inch heels. And I wasn't even jealous. Rather, I was fiercely proud. And I hope she knew that. We grew closer once I became an adult and were on more equal footing. When I moved to Columbus, Ohio in the late 80s, she would come visit, and we would paint the town red. Somehow, we both had a penchant for being able to drink everyone else under the table, but her flirting nature meant we rarely paid for our drinks. And it was that closeness that led to one of the most heartbreaking days of my life. The day I said goodbye when she moved to Germany. She was typically a terrible hugger, but this day we held each other tight and wept, heaving against one another. I didn't want her to leave, but I knew it was such a wonderful opportunity. It just felt like we'd finally found each other as sisters, and I was losing her. After she moved to New Zealand, then California, to a couple of different towns, Arkansas, Washington, then eventually Texas. But I'll let Susan and Craig tell you that story, because the distance kept my sissy and I from being too close after that. But she was always my big sissy, and I loved her endlessly. My beautiful, talented, funny sister. Memories by Susan. What to say about my mom? She was an awesome guitar player. She loved to write her own songs. She was huge into art. She had a room dedicated just to her crafts. She loved to travel. We lived in Germany, New Zealand, California, Arkansas, Texas, and Washington. My mom had a big heart. She also moved us a lot. I finally settled in Washington, got married, and had 2 kids. We didn't see each other much in the last 12 years since she moved to Texas. She came to visit Washington 2 times, and I went to visit Texas 2 times. Who would have known that would be our last visit, and that she would have died less than 2 weeks later? I wish we could have lived closer to each other and visited more. I guess if I would have known that that was my last hug, I would have squeezed a little tighter. She loved her family and wanted to be close, and unfortunately that just didn't happen. She loved her dogs. I can't remember living anywhere where we didn't have a dog. Halloween was always fun. She would always decorate and make cool costumes for me. My mom believed in ghosts and spirits. She would tell me she saw them a lot. My mom loved Madonna and Paula Abdul. I remember listening to the cassettes at home and in the car. I remember when I was around 7, our neighbors didn't have much food. Mom gave them a bag of food. Of course, I was made mad because she put my Jet Puff marshmallow cream in the bag. When we lived in Germany, I remember having her meet me at the bar. She wasn't happy. I was only 12, and they would serve me cola beer. But she did sit and have a drink with me. There was also a place called the Coffee Bean in California, and Mom loved to get the vanilla bean frappuccinos. I would walk down there and get them for us several times a week. I remember when she would sit in the bed, play guitar, and sing her songs that she had written. I loved sitting there and listening to her. I remember when I was 5 and just started kindergarten. I stole this little plastic bear and put it in my sock. When Mom came to pick me up because I wasn't going to that school anymore, I pulled the bear out of my sock. She was so mad. So she drove me all the way back to the school, made me tell them what I did, and apologize. I also remember when I was 5 or 6 that I joined the beauty pageants because Mom wanted me to be in them. I have a newspaper article somewhere here. I was in it. But then she had changed my last name to Blackburn, her second husband's last name. But she really wanted me to be in those pageants. And I remember being so scared to do them. Such a big audience and big crowd. I remember the little white lacy dress with pink on it that she had me wear. And she was so excited that I did it. I even had that freaking curly Annie hair she always made me wear. Oh, wonderful memories shared by sister and daughter. A poem that Beth really selected because it fits Belinda for her. And I'm guessing it fits Belinda for you as well. Called The Rainbow Bridge. And after this poem, we'll be immediately into the video presentation. So I'll invite you there at the end of this poem. By the edge of a woods, at the foot of a hill, is a lush green meadow where time stands still, where the friends of a man and a woman do run when their time on earth is over and done. For here between this world and the next is a place where each beloved creature finds a rest. On this golden land they wait and they play till the rainbow bridge they cross over one day. No more do they suffer in pain or in sadness, for here they are whole, their lives filled with gladness. Their limbs are restored, their health renewed, their bodies have healed with strength imbued. They romp through the grass without even a care until one day they start and sniff at the air. All ears prick forward, eyes dart front to back. Then all of the sudden, one breaks from the pack. For just at that instant, their eyes have met. Together again, both person and pet. So they run to each other, these friends from long past. The time of their parting is over at last. The sadness they felt while they were apart has turned into joy once more in each heart. They embrace with a love that will last forever. And then, side by side, they cross over together.